Welcome to This Nosy Human. I am This Nosy Human. Today we're doing something a little bit different than the last couple of videos and do a book review. Now, I am an avid reader, and if I remember correctly, I'm about up to 70 books so far in this year, 2023, and it's, June? My typical reads are romantasy, paranormal romance, and just general trashy romances. Sometimes, though, I do like to read nonfiction, and when I do read nonfiction that's interesting, I would like to share it with you in the form of a book review. So I have a few books on deck. I've already made a short with some of them that I think we all will enjoy, ranging from Black history to philosophy to healthcare. Today's book was a quick read called Nobody Knows What They're Doing by Lee Crutchley. Covers white with red Comic Sans crayon on it, which I personally enjoy that vibe. It's one of the random books that I picked up after joining a friend for lunch one day, and I like the idea of learning the 10 secrets all artists should know. I'm a creative at heart, though I flit from one type of creativity to another, so I enjoy reading books that are intended for artists. Going through, though, I don't think that most of the advice in this book is necessarily specific to artists. I think most of what's here can apply to everyone, regardless of your path in life. The gimmick of the book is a list of 10 pieces of advice that you might not hear otherwise. Social media has made the quick, positive pieces of advice that we love so much so popular, like that nobody wants to give more difficult pieces of advice a chance or wants to hear it. Now, that doesn't mean that the advice is bad on either side, but the ones that Lee offers might not be wrapped up in a neat little bow and might initially come off as a little bit harsh until you read it yourself. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the 10 secrets, which I have covered up in the back. So if you want to know exactly what Lee says, I would encourage you to purchase this book yourself. This was $15. So not expensive at all, and you'll read it quickly. So the first secret is that you suck, which sounds harsh, but there are 2 points to be made here. As an artist, you're constantly improving your skills. You look back on old art that you used to be proud of, and you can't say that you're proud of it anymore because you've improved. This is truly transferable to practically anything because we're all works in progress. So you used to not be able to do push-ups at all, and now after a year of training, you can do 20. You suck today in comparison to future you, and future you will suck in comparison to even more future you. The second point is that as an artist, you will make crap, and I do believe that is also transferable. So not everything you produce you will be good, and in life, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, and not everything will go well. So there are quotes in this book. One that wasn't included that I particularly like is from Will Smith. So Will Smith said, fail early, fail often, and fail forward. And that's part of what Lee was getting at here. Failure is not the enemy. It's a learning experience. Now, the second secret is that you will fail. So it ties in nicely with the first one. The thing I took away from this chapter is to make rejection-based goals. So this is something I need to think more on and how to apply this in my own life, but I love the idea. The example Lee used was getting rejected 12 times by publishers for short stories. Figuring that 12 short stories that get rejected is better than spending a year agonizing over half of a story. So I want to bring that into my professional life. And, when I figure that out, I'll let you know. I like the idea that failure isn't bad, right? And how do we make goals that are failure based in a way that will help us move forward in our own lives? So the third secret is a reminder that in this day and age, social media makes it seem like you have a spotlight on you, which terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But it makes you think that you are the center of attention, when in reality, you're not. It is an illusion that causes anxiety that you don't need. I don't need it. You don't need it. Whew. Nobody cares what you do. I when I first started driving, I found it really strange to sit at a red light and like watch other people in their cars. And I thought they were watching me in my car. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you are singing at the top of your lungs in your car as long as they don't hear you. Uh, and that you look like you're just enjoying yourself, right? Nobody cares. Um, and I think that freedom in knowing that is helpful when you want to try something new or potentially do something that might end up potentially being embarrassing. Who knows? The fourth piece of advice is that everyone's better than you. Or so you can be forgiven if you believe it. The algorithms that rule our lives is a highlight reel, making you think that your reality is worse without you ever noticing that you're comparing apples and oranges. You're not seeing the whole picture. So comparison is not helpful for anyone. Something that I took from this chapter that I believe deserves further thought is that we are the sum of our inputs. Like you are, he doesn't say this, but you are an average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Very similar to social media, what your inputs on social media, which somebody else is controlling, that's the algorithm giving you what they think will hold your attention. So what that is giving you, you are inspired from. You are taking that and shaping your own life with it. So you are a sum of your inputs that may or may not have something else controlling that, which is something I want to delve a little bit further in. The fifth piece of advice is that you can't just do what you love. I think my generation, millennials, were very much raised as you won't work a day in your life if as long as you're doing what you love, or you know, practicalities don't matter. Do what you are going to love to do. Now, the reality of the situation is that that's not true and kind of an unfair expectation. You go to work, you might love your job, but there's always going to be pieces of your job that you're less thrilled about. And that just is what it is. That is life. Now, what Lee gets at here is that even if you love your job, you still have to work hard. And his main point is that if you just do what you love, it's minimizing the hard work that goes into it, which in order to be successful at literally anything, you are going to have to put in the work. You are going to have to work hard. And that is something that you have to understand, even if you are doing what you love. His point is like, oh, even if you love making art, you're still practicing, you're still growing, you're still learning. And all of that is hard work. You're not going to just be good at something just because you love it. Now, the sixth is that you are never going to make it. Just like anything in life, goals are constantly changing, moving, and evolving. So the goalposts are constantly changing as to what making it means. So he was, again, specifically talking about artists and creatives, but I get the same thing from my professional life, right? I had one goal, I hit it. What's the next goal? Moving on. Because as you get better, your goals are going to change. As you grow and learn, your goals are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The goals that I had at the beginning of my professional career are so minuscule compared to the goals that I have now. So your goalposts are going to constantly change, and that is something that you are going to have to get comfortable with. You're never going to make it because making it, the definition of it is just going to change over time. The seventh piece of advice is that you will never change. Now, this sounds bad because I don't believe I don't believe people are super stagnant. However, his point here is a dig at those like 10 habits of highly successful people posts that do really well and are very popular. You love the idea, right? But if you are not a morning person, you probably are not going to be successful by becoming and forcing yourself to become a morning person and wake up at 5 a.m. No, lean into you. Lean into your strengths and your weaknesses. And by doing that, you're going to be able to create your own success. Number 8 is that creativity isn't magic. So it is a little more artist specific, but the idea that creativity is a muscle, the more you work at it, the easier it feels to use. The same applies to things like logic puzzles. You work at anything and it's going to get easier. So to bring that out of the creative space, right? Let's take problem solving. You're problem solving at work. The more you problem solve, the better you're going to become at problem solving. So, just keep working at things. Nobody is super great at everything that they do when they first pick something up. So work at it, work hard, and you can be successful. Number 9 is one that feels obvious, but it never really actually is. It's that nobody knows what they're doing. So it's the title of the book. Nobody knows what they're doing. And he's talking about how everybody is just wandering around, hoping for the best, doing our best, and hoping it works out. It's hard to imagine. Like, I get this a lot where when my mom was my age, she had a 7-year-old. I'm over here, how do I keep a plant alive? How do I feed myself so that I can be my best? And she had a 7-year-old, and it's not just a generational thing. It's not like, oh, boomers were more, had their life together more. No, they just didn't show it to us that they don't know what they're doing. They hid it very well. This chapter made me think of Elise Myers on Instagram saying, just do it scared. My little bundle of anxiety needs to be better at remembering this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, and that's okay. Nobody else knows what they're doing, and that's okay too. So number 10 is only labeled as the big secret, and I'm going to leave this one as a secret. It follows a similar theme to the others. I thought it was kind of obvious, but again, the things that are obvious we forget about, right? So I'm going to not give that one away and encourage you to buy the book. Ultimately, super fast book. There's a lot of like pages like this. So you can read it in an evening. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the style of the book. There's a lot of really good nuggets of information that are not just specific to artists. So on Goodreads, this book has an average of 4 stars. And I would imagine that anyone doing anything would benefit from reading this book. So I don't disagree with the 4 stars on Goodreads. So recommend this book. Thank you for hanging out with me for the last, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Thank you for listening to my lovely little book recap, book review. And I will see you next time. Stay curious.